Yeah, any other questions before we get started?
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
Welcome to the official, unofficial Sea of Thieves podcast, a podcast dedicated to Sea of Thieves and other rare games, but mainly Sea of Thieves. Today we have another great episode. It's the first episode of the new year, and we are still bringing new interesting guests with every episode. So last year, Rare gave us 5 seasons of varying quality, and I'm sure we can talk for hours while looking to the past. But that's not what this episode is about, because this episode we will be looking to the future. In short, we will give our own personal wishes and ideas for Sea of Thieves in 2022, but we will also discuss your ideas since our subscribers did their best to let us know their wishes as well. And to discuss these topics, I am once again assisted by my wonderful co host.
Hi again, guys. It's a Shiny Ray. Glad to be back on the podcast. Happy I haven't been kicked off yet, but yeah, let's get into it.
And of course, the episode won't be complete without another exciting new guest.
Ahoy there, Captain Logun, coming to you from the Keelhauled podcast, and I'm happy to be on the official, unofficial Sea of Thieves podcast.
Welcome. It's good to have you. I know some subscribers really wanted Captain Logun on the podcast, and yeah, we are happy to arrange that for them. So, and we are also really excited to have you. I myself listen not every episode of the Keelhaul podcast, but some I do, and some are certainly really interesting. So I can always recommend it to my listeners as well. So yeah, so before we dive into our main topic, let's get to know our guest a little better. So can you tell us what your content is all about?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on. It's great to be on another Sea of Thieves podcast. I myself have been doing Keelhauled since about February of 2018, shortly before the game came out. So if you've been playing Sea of Thieves and you've been liking podcast content, there's a lot of us out there now that are actually making it. So all of my content is pretty much directed towards Sea of Thieves. So Keelhauled has been dedicated on trying to bring news, much like you guys, bring discussion and speculation. I love speculating about the weird stuff that could be coming to the game, and I love trying to pull in different guests from the community to actually be able to talk about how their experience is, what their perspective is, because it tends to vary from person to person, and I love having that diversity and trying to continue to include multiple people from the community that most other people don't get to hear. Like I would love to have you guys come on to my podcast as well, so that I can introduce you to my community, and my community can get to know you guys' voices and your perspectives as well. Because I think it's great when we all get to work together like this.
That's true. But your voice will always be the most sexy voice. Uh, let's let's
Thank you.
let's make that clear. Would you say you were the longest running podcast since you started quite early?
I am. Yeah. I have been going. There was 4 podcasts when I started, and we all started at about the same time. I think Shipwrecks and Shanties started a couple days before me, but they stopped at the end of the Hungering One event and
It's
didn't
quite
make it
early.
past June. Yeah, they didn't make it past June. A couple others died off, like Plundercast died off. There was another one that died off as well, and I've been going strong every week since 2018 in February. In fact, end of February is going to be my 4-year anniversary for the podcast.
Nice. Did you expected that when you started out that you would be running
No,
for so long?
I didn't. I really didn't. Keelhauled came as a result of me playing the beta and just being absolutely infatuated, but no one I knew at the time was talking about it. So the whole purpose of the podcast was for me to get my feelings and thoughts off my chest, and no one was going to listen to me. So I decided to record it and force everyone to.
I nice. Yeah, that works. I like that method.
It works out
um.
really well.
So where does the name Kilo Podcast come from?
That was actually spontaneous. That was one of those situations where, at the time, I was talking about it with some friends on Twitch stream during the beta. Some people that I'd met from the beta that I didn't know at all. We were talking about the show and what I wanted to do, and I had just decided that night that I was going to go ahead and just do it. So much of stuff in life never gets done. So that night I decided I was just going to do it. So I sat down on stream, pulled up, I think it was Audacity at the time, and just started recording just straight, no breaks, a full episode right then and there. And at the end of it, it was great. But I realized I didn't have like artwork, music, a name, nothing for the podcast. All I had was that first episode recorded. And it was very just mashed together. So it was one of the actual streamer or one of the chatters that suggested Keelhaul. And I was like,
Mm,
sure, let's go with Keelhaul. And that was it. There was no rhyme or reason. It just happened to be the right word at the right time.
nice. It sticks. I think it's a great name.
Yeah, it's definitely stuck around. I'm surprised that it's worked out as well as it has.
Nice. Speaking about names, where does the name Captain Logan come from?
That's harder to trace back because that's something where I have been Captain Logan for a very long time. I think prior to 2010, it had shifted. I'd always had Captain, and it had been like Conquest and then Captain Conquest. And then eventually I dropped Conquest and just went with my name, Logan. But I kept the Captain because it just, I don't know about you, but I've been a huge fan of Pirates of the Caribbean,
Mm,
and Captain Jack was just, it was such a beautiful movie and an amazing experience. And I just love pirates and have loved pirates my pretty much my whole life. So when it came to like using a user handle and stuff like that, I just thought, oh well, I love captains, I love pirates. I'll just go with my name because it's easy and I spell it weird, so it should be easy enough to get compared to something like conquest or more commonly used words. So after that, that was just kind of it, and I didn't really expect to make it like a social handle as far as like people are going to know me as Captain Logan.
mm. Do people know you more from Keelhaul podcast?
I would say more people probably know me from Keelhaul podcast more than anything else. That's changing, but I think a lot of that is just because I troll Twitter too much.
All right, gotcha. Yeah, it's interesting because when I started out, it was like so sick of everybody calling themselves captain. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nice for CFT's content because it's really recognizable, but there's so many captains out there, and I was like, come on, you're not gonna call yourself captain. But nobody was called Captain Blubber, and was like, yeah, kind of have to take this name then if nobody else is doing it.
It works so well. I mean, Captain Blubber, it ties into whales and ties into, well, I mean, you could do it with hippopotamus, but that's the better way to go about it.
Yeah, I
But
mean, it ties into rare. That's how I see it, since it is a rare character from the past.
yeah. And
And
it
my
is,
content is very, very rare focused. If some of my videos are, I like to promote Rare as a company.
I don't blame you. I mean, and there's been some really good news in just in this week about Rare and stuff going on. So it's a good time to be a Rare fan.
I always has been, always has been.
That's fair.
What news are you alluding to?
The GoldenEye leaks,
Oh
the
yeah,
true
obviously,
achievements,
yeah, the achievements. Yes, it is
James
true.
Thomas and Christina. It's like, ooh,
Oh,
I
Yeah,
hope they aren't getting
hang
in
on.
trouble.
Is
yeah. Can you explain Logan to the listeners so everybody's up to
Yeah.
date?
Yeah. So if you haven't heard, True Achievements is a website that keeps track of all the achievements that come out for games for Xbox. They've got the APIs built in to pull in that information for when you actually get achievements so you can keep track of it. Well, recently, Big Sheep and Christina, which is Xtina
Mhm.
on Xbox and stuff, their profiles got achievements for a version of GoldenEye that doesn't exist. And we know it because the GoldenEye that was made for like the Xbox Live that never came out only could have like 200 some gamer score. And this one has 1,000 gamer score. And they just recently got these pulled up into the API for true achievements. So either people at Rare are playing a version of GoldenEye that, hasn't come out, or something weird is going on with True Achievements, the API. But it's safer to bet that there's a good chance we're probably going to be getting a GoldenEye remake soon.
Yep.
Ooh.
And I believe that.
I mean,
How do you feel about it, Ray?
if it's it's tough because the original game obviously hasn't aged too well, but it might be better with twin analog sticks. It's just Microsoft have the money to pay for the music licenses, which is the issue, isn't it, with the GoldenEye remake? I'd buy it day one, especially if it was on Xbox Live, if I could play it against, Blubber and Captain Logun online.
Yeah. This also is 2022 also happens to be the 60th anniversary for James Bond as a franchise. So if if there was ever a time to harken back to some nostalgia for Bond in the gaming sphere, GoldenEye, this would be a good year to do it.
Isn't
Exciting news.
Sorry, isn't 60th anniversary a silver anniversary, if I'm correct? Or is
Ooh,
that 50?
that's above my pay grade.
Maybe no, it might be diamond anniversary.
I didn't know there was even associations for the different markers.
It might be a British thing because of how long our Queen's been alive.
Oh, really?
Could be.
They need to invent a new metal for her, I guess.
To get into a titanium anniversary, uranium anniversary at 120.
All right. Well, either way, exciting news for Rare fans in general and GoldenEye fans. I will buy it. I will certainly buy it and play it, if it was for nostalgia.
Right. Yeah, I don't blame you.
Sorry, just to interject, 60 years is a diamond anniversary.
Oh. All right, now we know. We've become smarter.
Oh, no, stop. Get the reference in there. It's going to happen. You've convinced me, Logan.
I hope so.
All right. Speaking about other games, by the way, Logan, what is your favorite game besides Sea of Thieves?
Oh, that's tough, buddy. Are we talking like all time or just like what I happen to be playing now?
No, all time, man.
What's all time? That's a really hard question to answer, but God, that's, you know what? I'm going to go with the thing that changed my perspective on gaming. And I'm probably going to have to say Super Mario Brothers 3.
All right.
It hit at the right time for me when I was a kid. I was probably like 10 or 11. And man, that game just, it spoke to me in a way that I didn't expect. And there was a movie with the wizard. Like, it's just, that game is just imprinted on my brain. I've got a tattoo of Mario with the Tanuki tail and ears and stuff from the game on my back. Like, it's such an amazing game. But that's a hard question because at any point I could change it and say like, oh well, Ocarina of Time taught me about narrative in a game. World of Warcraft taught me about online social presence and communicating with people that I've never met and building those bonds. Like, it's so hard to say like what my favorite game besides Sea of Thieves would be.
Yeah, it is true because of course there are a lot of games in the past we feel very nostalgic about. But like some, especially the multiplayer experiences, they came later in our life, and those are very treasurable as well. Like the experience with Sea of Thieves with your crew, that wasn't there on the N64. This is totally new, and it's also really special. So that's it changes. That's true, but nostalgia is very powerful.
Yeah, I think Ray, I'm kind of curious, and I don't mean to cut you off there, but I'm kind of curious what your guys' favorites are.
Oh, tell you what, we asked you that question. You're like, that's a really difficult one. I'm thinking, yeah, I could answer this, and now it's been put back on me, and like, there's quite a few different games. Blubber, do you have one in mind?
Yeah, well, mine is really easy. It's Banjo-Kazooie, and that will never change. I replay it on Xbox Live, and I still have fun with it. No, obviously, it's not the same because you get older, but I still cherish it very much. That game is like that game was made for me. Like I get Ocarina of Time is also very special to me, but I get that that is for other people as well. But it's more a shared experience where Banjo-Kazooie feels much more personal for me. Even I know it's not the case because other people like it as well, but still, like everything comes together: the sense of adventure, the humor, the colorful graphics, and the amazing soundtrack. And and the twists in the game. I'm like, this is exactly what I want. This is tailored for me, and that's why it's my my number one game.
See, that's beautiful. That's what it's about right there, is finding the thing that speaks to you and treasuring it, and not letting it get, mixed up with the zeitgeist of what's the best game ever, man. Like, kudos to you for having Banjo Kazooie. I would love to know if you want to have that as a remake while I give Ray some more time to think about it.
Well, remake would be nice. It opens up possibilities, but I don't, man, it's if I want more Banjo Kazooie, I play Banjo Tooie, which usually does the fix. But to be honest, there's always a little hole after I finish Banjo Tooie. I'm like, damn it, we'd like a third one, and maybe it's gonna happen. Like Rare is, or I should say, Microsoft is really using the IPs of Rare and giving it to different studios, and that could happen. That could happen, but I don't. If we would never get a new Banjo Kazooie, I wouldn't be that sad, even though I would really like it because we always have the old games.
That's fair. Ray, what about you?
So quickly, just to follow up from that question, I'd firmly like a remake of Banjo Kazooie. I think now's round about the right time. Maybe remake Banjo Kazooie and Tooie together, and then if that sells well, like try and do a 3. It's worth a shot, but that's a different discussion. Doing a 3, even though that's an awful name, 3E is really hard to say.
They gotta call it 3. I feel if they make it, they gotta call it 3.
Could be Banjo Nui though.
Yeah, it works too.
But favorite game of all time, I was gonna say Pokemon Emerald, because it just blew my mind on the Game Boy Advance when I borrowed it from a friend when I was younger, and I played it for hundreds of hours. How you could get that much content on a little cartridge was amazing. But I have to go with my heart, and Spyro 2 Gateway to Glimmer is my absolute favorite of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's a pull. I commend you, and I don't blame you in one bit.
Reason.
Yeah, it really.
Sorry.
I want to say it really shows our age the games we're picking.
Yeah, I think everyone tends to pick something they played when they were younger, obviously nostalgic purposes, but I can still pick up Spyro 2, original or reignited, and say this is still a really good game, just based off of how, some PS1 games don't age too well, but Spyro is one of the few, like Crash Bandicoot, that feels good to play in the modern era. Maybe not the first 2 games, are a bit janky, but second and third for both of them. But I think for me, what really hammers home is just having these sort of miniature open worlds and loads of them in a single game really spoke to me. And I think another one is the music. Music is such a powerful thing when it comes to nostalgia, but Stuart Copeland did a bang-up job with those soundtracks, and to the point where he is proud to say that, oh, I'm the composer for Spyro the Dragon. That's like one of his most proud achievements. But yeah, it's just, obviously Sea of Thieves is the all-time favorite, but this is besides Sea of Thieves, so Spyro 2 is my answer.
Very nice. Also nice that our guest is asking the questions right back at us.
Yeah, you can tell he's got experience, can't you?
Indeed. So final question, because we need to get going. Before we go to the main topic, what content will you be making if Sea of Thieves wasn't a thing? What would you do, Logan?
At this point, it's funny that this would be the case, but I would probably be making a Nintendo podcast, because at the time I was heavy into the first. I mean, let's look at 2017 for the Switch and just marvel at how many absolute killer games they came out with in that year. So heading into 2018, if it wasn't for the lull in games during January and February, I wouldn't have noticed Sea of Thieves being streamed, and I would probably be making content for Nintendo. I'd probably be gushing about how much I love having N64 games available on my Switch right now.
And they work so well.
They're perfect. Absolutely pixel perfect. No problems whatsoever. Definitely think they've absolutely killed it with the emulators. Really proud of them on that one for the price.
And for those listeners that can't hear the sarcasm, that's pretty big. It was pretty heavy on that. It's a shame because we pay so much for the N64 games, and there's lag and things don't render properly. It's terrible. If it worked perfectly, man, it would be so nice, but it doesn't, sadly.
Do you think if it gets better, you'll try to go back to some of those original Donkey Kong games for
Oh,
content for your stuff? Because I mean, you've been making content for Sea of Thieves, but Rare is still in that ecosystem, so there's still potential for you to branch out to either new titles or older titles if they ever get the emulation working well for that, and they come out with say like Donkey Kong 64 on the N64 emulator. Is that like in your mind for what you want to make as far as content coming?
yeah, it's a great question because that was actually my goal all along. Even before I started making
Yeah.
the CFTs channel, I was like, because I know myself, right? Like it still amazes me that Sea of Thieves can keep me playing for so long because I played Overwatch and Battlefield 3 and I was really into those games, but that never lasted longer than 2 years, which is quite a long time for me to enjoy a game. But then Sea of Thieves comes along, and I'm still playing it after almost 4 years, and I still not burned out on it. But I know that the day is coming. I know there's going to be a day where I'm like, all right, I only feel motivated to make one Sea of Thieves video for a month on my channel, but I will still be wanting to make more content. And yeah, those videos will be about other rare games, which are actually done. I made a review about Battletoads, by the way.
That's cool. Ray, what about you?
To be honest with you, Logan, I'm Sea of Thieves through and through. The only real rare games I've played are GoldenEye, Battletoads, and both Banjo-Kazooie games. Bit of a plastic rare fan, even though I like all the merchandise. But for me, it's just going to be Sea of Thieves until, hopefully, until they turn the servers off and make Sea of Thieves 2.
That's oh man, that's a debate right there. I think you could make a whole podcast on Sea of Thieves 2 or not.
Oh,
Yeah, not gonna happen. We're done.
Not gonna happen. No, we had this debate earlier this year, didn't we? And we have mixed opinions on it. But like you said, Logan, that's a debate for another time. It's a good discussion though. I'd like to have a podcast about that, Blubber.
We can. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we'll do that. No problem. And yeah, to emphasize or reiterate, or what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. My English isn't that great. But yeah, I will still be making CFTs content, even till the servers are down. That is also a goal. Yeah, for sure.
That's a good goal to have.
And as long as we're happy, right? That's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's really key. You got to be passionate about it.
Indeed. Because when I do eventually make the switch to more rare content, views are not going to be great. I know that I had, but it's mental health is more important. I want to do videos that are fun to make.
It's true. It's true, especially when you have all these hopes and dreams for Sea of Thieves still. You know, who knows what we're going to have in the future, especially just in the coming year. It'll be fun to kind of dive into what we think we're going to be getting for Sea of Thieves in 2022.
And let that be a beautiful segue to our main discussion. So let's dive into our main discussion, and that is obviously our wishes for Sea of Thieves in 2022. So these wishes and ideas can be anything we want, but we did try our best to be, to keep them somewhat realistic. Like obviously, I want a biome that is just hippos everywhere, but that ain't happening. So also to keep some sort of structure, each of us will only be given 3 ideas. So that's one big addition, one quality of life addition, and one piece of cosmetic that we would like to see added. And I believe it is only fair to let our guests go first. So Logan, what additions would you like?
I do have a question. Should we do like the big one each, and then go into like the next one after that, or do you just want all 3 right now?
What is handy? What do you think is handy?
I kind of want to hear what you guys say for your big additions after mine, because I have so many that I want to do, and it's so hard nailing just one down. But if I had to go with my big addition, the biggest thing that I want to see brought to Sea of Thieves for 2022 are additional pirates. I want to be able to make multiple pirates without having to build a whole new account and buying the game for that account. Like I just want to be able to level up a pirate fresh from the get-go who looks completely different, who I can build a story behind and have that adventure from a fresh perspective in a much more developed Sea of Thieves, while still keeping the pirate that I have had since, since the game came out. I still want him. He's still me, but I also want to like make up new stories and come up with new uh things for different pirates to play around and have different stories with.
Hmm, interesting. I did not expect you to choose something like that. It's really hard for me to relate to that, if I'm being honest, because I never got that wish at all. I get that people want to, switch their character to something else because clothing wasn't right and stuff like that. And now we have the pirate appearance potion, but multiple accounts. I never got that. Ray, how do you feel about that?
I think Logan's point is a symptom of a larger issue that these long-time players, all of us included, um, it's not that we don't have any end game content, it's that if you want to experience all the new stuff they've added with a fresh sort of progression system, it's impossible. Like a prestige system would be a good workaround with this rather than making a new pirate. But I see where you come from, Logan. I think that would be good. I personally wouldn't use it because I love my pirate and I don't want to start again fresh with a different one. But yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from, and I can see that being quite a popular feature, especially for older players that, they've done everything possible and they don't, they want to be able to add another pirate to their account using the same gamer tag.
Yeah, and that's the trouble is I don't want to use the appearance of potion because I don't want to change my pirate. I love the way he looks.
Mm.
I spent a long time going through the pirate generator to find that pirate. But I love the idea of having a prestige system but with a different pirate, because I have thought a lot about the prestige system and I think it would be a boon to the game, but at the same time I wonder how often people will do that and then how much strain that will put on the dev team to try and come up with new titles, or it feels like every season is already a way to kind of work through a leveling system that doesn't directly tie to the reputations. But there's a kind of a reason that I want to talk about when we get to later in the show with the messages in a bottle, about why I think a prestige system would be good, but I would avoid it over another option that I wanted to lean into. But what were your guys' big additions?
You can go first, Ray.
Okay, it was a toss up between two, but I'll go with what my heart wants and not what everyone else wants. I want another large set of tall tales because Flameheart's overdue his story by about 2 years now. Gold Hoarder got 9 through the Shores of Gold. I think with Flameheart, another 8 would be perfect for me. I know that's a big ask. But I think a part of the issue of the story at the moment is that it progresses in very small amounts. Whereas we were used to Shores of Gold, where we got a whole complete story in one update, which was really impressive with Anniversary. It's testament to Rare's sort of planning there. I think season 7 or 8 should have that large amount of tall tales just focused on Flameheart as your big update for the year. And ideally included in that, you'd have some ventures into the Sea of the Damned, like a pirate's life. I think that's what's going to happen anyway. But I know people say, oh, tall tales don't bring people back. Or sorry, tall tales don't keep people on the game. They do bring people back because people love tall tales and they love the story, especially when you get new experiences like we did in a pirate's life. If Rare can figure out a way to keep those replayable and reward players with adequate loot and rep and what have you for replaying them, I think they'd have a winner on their hands. So that's my big addition, really.
All right, makes sense. I mean, we're still waiting to hear the next chapter of that story for a long time, and I get that the need is big for certain players,
Yeah,
including me.
I'm with you on that. I think Destiny does a good job with their seasonal content. Each season is a new story arc that they bring in, and it may be confined to just that season, but they at least plan out their story based around their seasons and their season passes, so that way there's a reason to engage each season. Whereas with Sea of Thieves, it feels like each season is, maybe it'll bring quality of life updates, might bring in some new content, it might be a whole pirate's life thing, but they haven't found a steady workflow for their content. And if you were to get 12 new tall tales a month, or 10 new tall tales, or excuse me, 12 a year or 10 a year, and you spread that out for each month, I think that would be a lot more welcome than the one and done. You log in, you work through all of them for like a week, and then you're done with the content.
It's funny.
Totally agree.
It's funny you bring that up because I would love that sort of structure. Because with A Pirate's Life, we blasted through it in 3 days, and then it's like, oh, the story's done. Whereas if we had it like 1 or 2 a month, and then a little bit of a break, or it's spread it out across a year, 10 tall tales, let's say, use your example. There's stuff to look forward to, and it's coming soon. Then, rather than one and done sort of situation. So if they could figure out how to do that with a story, I would love that to pieces.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense too. It's like we got 5 tall tales and 5 seasons last year. I mean, that's 1 tall tale per season. Just do it in the second month or something like that. I mean, just spread it out so people are always playing, and you don't have those huge spikes in the beginning and then it's gone. Just spread it out. I think that works well.
I feel like A Pirate's Life came round, and Rare was planning to roll up the Flameheart story, and they were like, "Oh, Pirate's Life is going to be finished this year, so we'll push that back till 2022, and we'll loop back to Pirate's Life." I do think originally, before they got that contract with Disney, that Flameheart was going to be 2021, but they had to slot that in somewhere. We know that his story, Flameheart's story, wasn't actually swapped out for Pirate's Life.
Thank God.
Thank God, yeah, because that would have really, really upset me. But yeah, it seems like they've pushed that to 2022, maybe into 2023, and A Pirate's Life firmly got the spotlight for last year.
Yeah, I mean, if you got the opportunity to do Pirate's Life, you take it, right?
Yeah,
So,
I'd
totally
rather have
understandable.
both than just Flameheart a year earlier, if that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, so I guess it's my turn for my big addition, which is also something I've mentioned multiple times in this podcast. But I love Halloween updates, and they've been a bit lackluster. Like we got the Flames of Fate in the first year, and then they expanded on those flames with the Fort of the Damned, which was still one of my favorite updates, because they really utilized the flames in a new way, and it was like nice. So next year we're gonna get another evolution of that, but we didn't. We got, what was it, the fate of the Damned, which everybody loved, and then the last October we got even less. Like we just got some events for Halloween. So I really want them to make a big edition about the Flames of Fates again during Halloween, and it can be just a standalone update that comes in the beginning of October, or the month before that, or it can be wrapped up in a season. What it is doesn't really matter as long as it's something engaging. So we know the rumors about Golden Sands. That could be a nice addition for Halloween, like Golden Sands being trapped between the world of the living and the sea of the damned, like the Fort of the Damned is. And we might have some different missions there to battle. It could be a world event, which I would really like. Or something else I was thinking of, and I've mentioned this before, like a Skeleton Mag event or a Ghost Mag event. Well, let me expand even further on that. Like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a place in the sea where you lit the beacons a different color, and depending on the color of those beacons, you would fight a different boss enemy. So if you use the red flame, you fight a spooky sea serpent that uses fire, that breathes fire or shoots fire bombs. Or if you use the white flame, you'd have the same boss without the fire, but you'd be fighting in a storm. And yeah, that's the addition like that, like something, a world event that you can trigger, like the Fort of the Damned with the Flames of Fate. That's what I really want.
I fucking love that.
That's cool.
That is cool.
I would love to have more expansion on the events, especially Halloween.
Yeah, it's a letdown because I always look forward whenever a game is doing Halloween content. I'm excited, just even without knowing what it is. And Sea of Thieves is a little bit, last 2 years has been a little disappointing on that front. So I hope they can make a comeback.
I feel like they need to really kind of expand the lights at this point. I feel like we need more colors, and that the colors should be tied to different things because we have new enemies now in different worlds. I love the idea of controlling beacons. I've always wanted an arena mode where it was like capture the hill or point control, but the points are lighting the beacons at different islands, and each ship has a color, and every ship has a flame, and that flame is tied to their colored ship, and then whoever is lighting the beacons with their color gains points, and then whoever gets the most points at the end of the time wins. But it's you have to sail around, you have to deal with the fact that you have to change the lanterns up. I would love something like that brought into adventure, but whoever controls the majority of the beacons in, say if you lit the beacons all in, we'll go with the Ancient Isles, you head over, you turn them all blue, the megalodons will spawn more rapidly in that area of the world, more than if you were to go over to, say, like the Shores of Plenty, and you lit up all of them with green, and skeleton lords were now spawning instead of skeleton captains, and you could kind of work through commendations that way. But you're tempting fate using the flames of fate to try and deal with different types of enemies that you normally wouldn't encounter.
Nice. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
also a great addition.
On that topic, I think Rare would sort of expanding the Flames of Fate. I think if they added new colors, you could activate a different Fort of the Damned if you had a different combination. Obviously, we've been fighting Grey Marrow for as long as we can remember now. Poor guy, he's gone through hell and back, hasn't he? Having to fight all of us pirates. I say he's adequately punished for his transgressions in Shores of Gold. But yeah, say imagine, if you light with a certain amount of colors, you get a different skeleton lord, or you get phantoms, or ocean crawlers, something like that. Like with sort of different loot depending on which one you light. So if you lit one with ocean crawlers that had to be defeated with the Flames of Fate as well, you'd get more loot compared to the skeletons. I just think, pull a Fort of Fortune on this bad boy, and add some existing content just to spice it up a bit for the Halloween event next year, or this year, should I say?
You're bleeding into something I like. We got teases with Flameheart Jr. about the Soul Flame stuff. Not many of us have really like gotten a grasp on what the Soul Flame thing is, but I mean, if the costumes we got last year were any indication, I mean, why not make Fort of the Damned like a Soul Flame situation where you can summon those bosses?
That would be really awesome. Yeah, it is, like you just touched on, having new AI to fight is always fun, I think, especially considering how huge the 3 editions in a pirate's life were. If we could keep that pace up, adding like 1 mob a year would be really nice. And like you said, Soul Flame for Fort of the Damned would be awesome, especially if it tied in with Flameheart's story.
Yeah, I would love it.
Nice. Interesting ideas. That's good. Let's crack on. Crocodiles in my mind. With the other editions we have thought up, and let's begin with Logan's Quality of Life edition. So, what would you like?
This is a big endeavor, and I apologize if I take it from your guys' lists, but I want a UI overhaul for all of the menus. I think the menus are vastly outdated. I think that they have patchworked a lot of the stuff that has come to Sea of Thieves into the game, and it just does not work. I've spoken about it multiple times, but I shouldn't be diving 7 clicks deep to try and discover what my progress is on a 2-week event or a 1-week event in Sea of Thieves. Like the menus just take too long to navigate. You need to break out the events into their own thing. You need to break out trials into their own thing. You really got to take a look at the equipment menu, because we have the radial system. That should be the most certain way that you do stuff. It's the quickest way to do stuff. It shouldn't be you shouldn't have to worry about the equipment menu. There should be easy access to all of the stuff that you have in your inventory at any given time. So on top of that, I think that goes in line with like the message in the bottle system. As part of the UI, we need to figure out, we can make map bundles now. Like we should be able to find a way to put a message back in a bottle and throw it off the side of the ship to get it out of there. So yeah, mostly just overall UI change up. They need to really shore up what's going on there, because it's just too dense, it's too nested, and it's too complex for people to find stuff easily.
Yeah. Totally agree with that, by the way. And it kind of regressed over time too. I said in my season 1 review as well, like, all right, we have this new menu now, but the information we want is in the background, like the thing that needs to be ready, like the daily events and the seasonal events. Like that's information you want to get in 1 or 2 clicks. Like your accommodations, they can be a bit further behind if necessary, because you don't check them all that often, but you want to check those events every time, and they are all the way to the back, and it just doesn't feel right.
Wouldn't it be great if you could pin a commendation that you're working on so that you have like a
Mm,
specific thing that says like, hey, these are the things that you're focusing on. And it doesn't
I
show up on the HUD like as you're playing, but it shows up in the menu as its own little specific thing. It's just like, hey, by the way, this is how you're doing on those skeleton ships. This is how you're doing on those chickens and pigs and stuff for the Athena fortune.
Yeah, that would be really nice. Yeah, yeah, that's a great addition, actually. Yeah.
I completely agree with that, Logan. I think what really speaks to me is when you go to check your reputation and you've only got 3 of the multiple tabs there, and then it takes ages to scroll across because your UI is like a web
Yeah.
page and it depends on what your connection's like at the time. It's really frustrating to have to scroll all the way to the end to get Athena commendations. You should just have a top to bottom selection of all the companies. And obviously, they can just adjust the icons when they decide to add more companies. But
Yeah.
just pressing start to go into your events or your seasonal rep, and it's just an absolute nightmare. You're like, oh, where's the season event again? Oh, it's in. No, it's not that one. Oh shit, where? Yeah, every single time, and I've played this game for hundreds of hours with this new
Yeah.
UI, and it's just so
Think
frustrating. Same with picking cosmetics, actually, which um, I think I know what Blubber's quality of life edition is going to be regarding that. Um,
Shh, don't shut it now.
if Blubber, you go, unless anyone wants to add anything else on this one, I think we're all in agreement with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blubber, you go next because mine's been stolen now. So I'm
All
gonna have to
right,
have a
that's
little think
fine.
here.
I mean, you've hinted at my quality of life edition. Like I want presets. It's so
mhm.
obvious, but you got to keep it true. Like I can think of something original, but that's not really fair. Like this is my wish. This is what I want in 2022. I want presets. We have been waiting so long for it, and people know that still with me. I can be. I get annoyed if the shit doesn't match. I'm not fun to sell with. Like I'm really having a bad time if the figurehead doesn't match the hull and stuff like that. So I sail with a crew that doesn't mind me putting all these cosmetics that I want, which I'm grateful for, but it still takes so long. And obviously, and sometimes I just pick the cosmetics because I know where they are in the menu, so it goes quickly. And then I keep on sailing with the same ship sets, but that's not what I want to do. I want to, oh no, now I feel in the mood for Royal Sea Squirrel. Let's click Royal Sea Squirrel. There it is. And then halfway through the session, I'm like, all right, we sold that ship enough. I want to see that other cosmetic that I earned, I know, 3 years ago during that event. And just needs to go quickly. It needs to go fast. I'm just wasting our time. The same with the storage crates in the beginning too. Like that addition of quickly filling storage crates, we've been waiting for that for so long. It's probably really easy to do, and we only got it in what 3.5 years of playing the game, and it's such a big improvement. And I feel with presets, also for clothing, I feel people will be really happy with it. How much time it will save.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's insane that if I want to equip all of the Admiral set, I have to go pick out each individual piece in each individual tab, or I have to find it amongst the 27 tabs or pages that are in the cosmetics. Like for those of us that have been collecting cosmetics since the start of the game, trying to find a cosmetic, a specific cosmetic is insane. But if you find it, you should at least be able to click it and then have it take you to that outfit, that full outfit, and just have like
Mm,
another button that says equip all. So that
mm,
if I want to wear all of the Admiral set, I can just click one button once I find one piece of the Admiral set.
I don't
I indeed.
I don't change my cosmetics all that often. Maybe a jacket here or there once a year, but trying to figure out like if I've played dress up as a merchant or something or swapped something out. for a video, going to find my cosmetics for my pirate just based off of what the PNGs look like on a tiny little circle is very frustrating, especially when you've bought new cosmetics and it's shifted everything around.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's also interesting because we are content creators as well, and people do recognize us over pirates. And every time I stream with Ray, I change my cosmetics back to the cosmetics that I use in my videos, so people recognize me as Captain Blubber. But if I'm playing with my crew, I wear whatever. Like I even changed my beard and stuff like that. So it would be nice that there was just one preset that said YouTube outfit, and I click on it, and I don't need to worry about it, and I can make my content for the channel.
If we could name them too,
Yeah.
that'd be even better.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah. And it could be something as easy as renaming the pet.
Yeah. Like I'd have like my different ships throughout the Sea of Thieves eras and maybe my outfits as well, just so I could swap around easier. But yeah, so having it like renaming pets is probably the best way they could go, because they'd probably have the same censorship rules, even though you're the only one that can see it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that if it was that easy.
The only downside is that it becomes more obvious which sets are not complete, and then we can pull a rare for it.
Nearly a year later, waiting for more Jade Dragon items. In fact, no, it's over a year later. Still
Oh
wish
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
it got released.
But I don't care for those.
Oh, come on, a green Ashen Dragon recolor is going to be pretty cool. Green and gold.
I know you want it. I know you want it. So, so that's my very obvious quality of life edition. So, Ray, what's yours?
Does captaincy count?
Yeah, sure it does.
So, no, I'm not going to pick captaincy. I'm going to pick something else, which is very selfish to me. Obviously, I'd like custom servers to be released to the public, but more importantly, I would love to have a free floating camera so I can get shots for my channel in those custom servers. It's very niche, I know, but having a flying camera would just change the quality of my content. And it would be really good for other people who are looking to get into it. Or even like in general, things like Race of Legends and Sea of Champions and NAL, having a flying camera to sort of to cast over to these events would be really good for the viewers as well. So that's going to be my little selfish quality of life request, please, Rare.
They just have to surface it to the public. They have the tools. We've seen their videos. There's no way you can get those shots by just having a pirate flying through the air. Like, they have to have a free camera.
Yeah, it's just just a case of if they're going to let us have it, and if so, when. Hopefully in 2022, but I doubt that highly.
And let us control the weather too.
Oh yeah, and get rid of Flameheart as well on custom servers, because he ruins my shots.
Like people that aren't content creators, like the day-night cycle is really annoying if you want to get clips for your YouTube channel. And sometimes I'm just waiting for 10 minutes for the sun to get up, and I'm not getting those minutes back. And people watch it on YouTube and they think, oh, he only spent 2 minutes, but I spent 50 minutes for that clip. So I don't know. I want a cycle so it doesn't take that much time anymore.
Yeah, no kidding. I echo all of that. Please. It's been over, I think, a year since word got out that they were going to be playing around with custom servers. We haven't seen any of that expanded to anyone outside of partners. I'm not a big Sea of Thieves creator according to Twitch and YouTube, but I would still like to have a custom server for my community so we can all hang out and do stupid stuff to each other.
Yeah, I think that's a wider issue of what's going on with how they prioritize stuff. Obviously, we don't know the inner workings of what's going on at Rare unless you work for Rare themselves. They come out with these ideas like Flameheart is coming and custom servers are coming and we're going to do this, but we're not going to tell you when, and we're just going to be quiet about it until we've got something to announce, like it's coming out tomorrow, sort of thing.
Legends of the Sea. Where's Umbra's stuff expanded?
Yeah, weren't they going to expand that to another wave of content creators and community members? Yeah. And
never came in.
And they brought out the Be More Pirate hat, didn't they? And they were like, "Oh, yeah, we're still working on that, and this isn't a replacement for that, but we're doing something, but we're not going to talk about it."
Yep, it's tough. to see really good ideas left in the wings and not paid attention to. So I echo your guys' sentiment as far as like community content creators and stuff like that, just communities in general. There's so many good people out there trying to make content for the game, and custom servers with a free roaming camera and control over the weather, the spawns, the time of day, stuff like that would just make it so much better. So many of us enjoyed some of the machinima that came out from France that was Gato making that video. It was amazing, but I can't imagine how much effort it went into to try and do that.
The cinematography and the footage they've got just must have taken ages to do all of it, the amount of takes they would have had to do. And you're like, how have they done that without a free floating camera? They've done it somehow, but, you know, imagine how much quicker that would have been if they had the tools that we're talking about now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing.
And that would mean they'd be able to produce this content more often for us to watch, so everyone wins, essentially.
Aye, very nice. All right, so those are our quality of life editions. Let's go to the final set of wishes, and that's what we want for cosmetics. And you can take it first again, Logan. What cosmetic would you like?
This is easy for me. The art book has different C's, like the C's of the five winds and stuff. I want the Sea of Sorrow cosmetics to come from the art book. The closest stuff we've gotten is the Crimson Crypt set and the Dark Adventurer set. I'm an old goth. I just want my gothy stuff. Just lay it in thick. Give me that leather. That's all I want.
Can you describe it for people who aren't in the know of how it looks?
High collars, lots of leather, long pleats of clothing drapes, like really, really big clothing with lots of belts that are just kind of strapped tight. Like if you were to take a whaler and then ratchet them up to like a DBZ, like Dragon Ball Z Super Saiyan 5 version, like that's what I'm talking about. I want like super goth stuff. I want just you to look like you're dead or you're serving the dead. If you're a part of the undead culture, or, you're just a servant of like Order of Souls, but darker. Like if there was a darker version of the Order of Souls people, that's who the Sea of Sorrow people are. They'd look like you don't want them coming to your party.
I gotcha. And do you want a costume or like a full set with weapons and all that stuff?
It's got to be done in as separate pieces. The costumes are great. I love what they've done with the pirate's life, but man, some of the stuff can only be done with costumes, and it's a real shame because the game is built off of cosmetics as the reward for everything outside of the adventure. And I would hate to feel like some of the best stuff is only coming via costumes. Like, give me the ability to mix and match, come up with ways, the technology, build in that stuff. Like, we just got masks, we just got handkerchief masks in a 3-year-old game for a pirate game. Like, come on, like let's keep the sets going. Let's keep the equipment going. I want the weapons. I want all of that to be like piecemeal so I can pick and choose what I like and don't like.
To comment on that wish, I've just found the page in the book. I've got the digital version up right now, and I completely forgot this even existed. So thanks for reminding me about this. It looks fantastic. I would love to see this as well. In fact, any of the four styles they put in the thingy would be a great idea. Just to build on Logan's point there.
Can you send me a screenshot of that? I'll edit it in the podcast so the listeners can see it.
Yeah, I'll send all 4 of the styles so you can just put them up so people can see it.
For those that watch the podcast.
Visual imagery? What?
I've done I think once or twice before when I'm like, all right, I need to get a visual for this for the people that watch it on YouTube. So let's keep it going with cosmetics. What's your cosmetic wish, Ray?
The Flameheart jacket and the Flameheart hat. I'm just going to keep it simple here. I think the hat and jacket are amazing with the sort of bones tied into it and the giant feather on the hat. The closest thing we have is a Dark Adventurer set, but that doesn't whet the Flameheart appetite for me. I think his cosmetics are the coolest because they're quite simple and sort of suit this brooding villain look on him. I think if we do get Tall Tales for him this year, then we're going to get some of his cosmetics, and just as an extension to that, but the rest of the Burning Blade set would be nice. I'm a simple guy. Give me some flames, and I'll wear it.
Yeah, and it seems reasonable too, since we got the Pirate Lord hat and the Pirate Lord jacket. So why not the Flameheart hat and jacket? So seems reasonable. Yeah.
I would like them to make it some sort of, so if they did expand Reaper or make like a Reaper Legend, to have it like the highest reward for that, so not everyone's walking around in it like Ashen Dragon stuff, or the other Tall Tale stuff that's really easy to get. It would make sense thematically. But I think if they did make a Reaper Legend, that Flameheart stuff should be the top tier sort of stuff that you get at Reaper Legend 10 or 20 or whatever they want to do it.
Yeah, make it the hardest for sure. And we'll talk a little bit more about Reaper Legend, I'm sure, when we come to the messages in the bottle.
I don't know if you guys remember that suit that was in the tavern or in the clothing shops for a long time that they eventually took out. That was on that mannequin. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, it looked like I don't know if anyone's played Assassin's Creed Rogue. It looked like Shay's outfit from that. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, I want that, or make that into a character like I don't know, Captain Hook or something. But I want to see that back in the game.
Hi. All right. Yeah, so I'll just tell my wish now. Which I've been thinking for hard and long. Something I always wanted was a Grab by the Goodies ship set, like a Heritage ship set. I'm still sick that I'm still disappointed. Sorry, that Cameo has only one game and has a ship set, but Grab by the Goodies, which is obviously the better game, doesn't. So, but this is not my pick, by the way. This is not my pick. I know Ray thinks I might go for a salty hippo figurehead, which I also really want. But again, this is not my pick. This is something that I want to wear forever and ever. And it's pants. And it's the pants of Captain Blubber, obviously. He has striped pants. They're vertical stripes, black and red. It's piratey. Like, I think we still don't have pants that have vertical stripes, and I associate that with sailors. And we don't have it, so I want that pants. I want those pants. Yep, give it to me, and I'll wear it forever and ever.
It's something that's in the art book. They did
It
stuff
is. It
in the
is
art
true.
book,
Yep.
and it's not
Yeah.
in the game. How is
It's
this
true.
possible?
Yep. And so I don't know if it was red and black. Do you know that, Logan?
It's red and white. But I mean, they could do variants. But I mean, yeah, they have like the vest. They've got the short pants with like the stripes. It's like they knew what they had. They had the lineage. They could have done it. They just haven't, and I don't know why. It's so weird.
Like, they have a history with pirates. I made a video about it, actually, all the pirate references in past Rare video games. And there are some pirate characters which they can easily translate those in cosmetics for Sea of Thieves, and it would be great for long-time Rare fans. But also, if you're not a fan, there's just cool cosmetics, and they're not really doing that. They're only doing it for the ship, for the Heritage ship cosmetics. But I think they can expand on it.
As sort of a follow-up to that point, I like when the Pirate Emporium was doing crossover sets, like heritage sets, should we say. Now it's bleeding more into really cool ship sets that are canon, which I think I've heard this debate in the community saying that it's never going to be used for that well. It obviously is now. Like having things like the Salty Hippo or the GoldenEye ship set or Grabbed by the Ghoulies, I feel like that's what the Pirate Emporium should be for. But now we've shifted to the coolest sets are always in the Pirate Emporium, which, we do get other cosmetics now. Rare is a lot better giving out free cosmetics to us. But yeah, I think the Pirate Emporium is still getting the lion's share of the cool stuff. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I think the balance is getting better. The seasonal pass cosmetics that we get for the last couple seasons, I feel like have done a decent job of giving us something that's interesting. But I do agree. I think that the Pirate Emporium has obviously been a boon for the game and supporting it monetarily. But having the coolest stuff always come to the Pirate Emporium is always been kind of like oh, that's cool. I want to get it, but I can't justify the 200 some dollars I spend every year on Sea of Thieves.
That's a really good point. For me, I think a lot of things like the emotes and pets are really well priced, but when you get to the ships, I think like the third of a price of a new game is quite excessive. And Yeah, I think they need to, if they reduce that price, that'd be better. But they have gotten better in regards to like the plunder pass being better value. Like this season's been excellent value. I'd recommend anyone to buy it because you get a full ship set and 750 ancient coins for it. Hopefully that continues. And I hope as well, if that is the case, that Rare gets adequately compensated by the players all by the plunder pass because it's such good value, and then we can get more updates.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it will be a bit smaller step to buy the ship cosmetics, which will still be good because they'll still make money on it. Let's hope they do that. I'm a bit fearful. I feel it might be a one-time thing because of Christmas, but we'll see how it evolves.
Just to prove that Rare aren't a bunch of Scrooges, we did something for Christmas. We gave out some extra ancient coins.
I don't know. Well, they're probably looking at the data when they come back from holiday, and hopefully they'll make some thoughtful decisions on how they want to go forward. So those were our wishes, but like with many previous episodes, I also asked my own community to submit their ideas for us to discuss. So let's have a look at them. We've got some listener questions, some listeners' ideas. I'm going to bundle two questions together since they're quite similar. So I'm just going to say those first, and then we'll discuss those two at the same time. So, first idea, SGM Jant. As you know, the idea of a faction war has been spreading. I was wondering how it would actually work. Once the player joins their faction of choice, Reaper or Athena, will they be set tasks to hand in emissary flags of the enemy faction? Or would it be a completely new system? And Firebird and Z adds to that, if there is a faction war, will it disturb the flow of the game for players who don't want to do it? So those people are really focusing on the ideas that it's going to be Reapers against Athena or Reapers against Dark Brethren and Athena. So that's where that speculation comes from. I'm not the right person to answer this because I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm not really thinking about ideas how it could work. But maybe you guys have.
I spent a lot of my life playing a little game called World of Warcraft where there are two factions. So the idea of a faction war to me is something I've always loved the idea of. Good versus evil, perception versus reality. I love the idea of reapers reaping because that is the pirate's life and pirates for all of eternity. And I love the idea of Athena as this camaraderie, crew, adventure, not about the gold and the glory. Two very differing mindsets that still kind of bleed into each other. So the idea of having to make that choice and make that thing harkens back to when the game first came out, and Mike Chapman was sitting in a chair in a studio office talking about the different factions. And for me, the factions were this nebulous idea about how they would work. I thought, oh my gosh, when I get into Sea of Thieves, I'll have my pirate, but I'm going to have to make a choice. Am I going to align with the Merchant Alliance or the Order of Souls or the Gold Hoarders? Like I have to choose. Like it's going to matter which faction I choose when I get in there. So I like killing skeletons, but I love digging up treasure. And I don't know about the Merchant Alliance. They could be cool. And when the game came out, I found out that the factions were not factions the way World of Warcraft taught me that factions were. They were just different sects of people who worked together and had this kind of a symbiotic relationship with each other. And I always wondered what Sea of Thieves would be like if you had to choose, if you're going to be a gold hoarder, if you're going to be a merchant alliance, if you're going to be an order of souls. So if you take a step back from that and you just look at the game as Reapers versus the world, a theme that they brought back in season 2, I think that is something that would be really interesting. I would love to see if Reapers commit to being a Reaper. If they renege on their Pirate Legend status, they can no longer go visit Ramses. They can no longer go into the Pirate Legend Tavern, but they get their own. They get their own Pirate Legend Tavern that is just for Reapers at Reapers Hideout, and that becomes their stronghold. They build it up stronger. They build it up higher. The walls get taller. The fort gets stronger with more cannons. They really kind of like dig in and create their own world underneath that island. That's something that I think would appeal to a large group of the population, and I would love to see who goes to where when it comes to that aspect.
But how would it work gameplay wise then? Like at the end of the month, like who did better or Reapers did better, so now they get some more structures on their island, or how would it work in your mind?
It would never tie into that. It would purely be a story aesthetic. You would be doing the thing. So instead of you just being able to access any of the Pirate Legend taverns, you as a Reaper would spawn in at Reaper's hideout. And as soon as you got down into Reaper's hideout, your ship would be there. You would sail through a magical portal, and that portal would open up through one of the portals that are now all over the bloody place in the different seas, and that is how you get into the Sea of Thieves from Reaper's Hideout. But you are now tied directly to that faction. It's kind of like Sith versus Jedi. You know, when you become a Sith, you were like a Sith, and you were like outcast compared to everyone else. Like nobody wants anything to do with a Sith. That's what Reapers are to me. That's what Reapers ought to be. So when it comes to like them building up their fort, that is all done through story and Flameheart Jr. coming into play. Nothing that ties directly to what the players influence. The faction war is just something that is on a surface level and identifies with each pirate as their own story.
All right, that's really interesting. So it both expands. The Reapers will expand, Athena will expand. You just make the choice like which storyline to follow more.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that like if I would choose to alliance myself with Athena and you would choose to alliance yourself with Reapers and we'd play together, that's not gonna work. Like where do we spawn?
That's where it would be interesting to see, like, how do you approach making that choice? Because it works in World of Warcraft. Like there are different areas where you can spawn in and live, and there's contested areas that you go to. But it would start to drive a wedge in communities, I think, and I think it would draw interesting conclusions. Could you be agnostic? Could you be just a plain pirate that doesn't align yourself? Lorena declined becoming a pirate legend.
Mhm.
Why isn't that always an option for everyone once we've become pirate legend? Because we were always told pirate legend was the status to obtain. If there are now two statuses to obtain, whether you become a reaper or a pirate legend, why wouldn't you offer a third that is to have abstinence between the two as well?
Hmm. It's interesting. But I feel like if there is going to be a faction war and people do choose sides, there's always going to be content locked away for people who don't choose a certain side, and I don't think that's what developers want. I think they always want everything to be available for everyone if they feel like doing it.
I would counter with time limited cosmetics, and pirate legend equipment in season passes.
Mm,
They're fine locking away cosmetics based on reputation in a season pass. Um, even when it's a paid season pass,
mm.
they are fine doing that. I don't see
The-
why.
yeah, but that's
Go ahead.
cosmetics looking away. Like if you're gonna have tall tales for Athena and tall tales for Reapers, like you will look tall tales away.
What if the tall tales were different based on what faction you represented? What if the characters that you met were different? Say Pendragon is the person that you meet if you're a pirate legend, but Stitcher Jim is the person you meet if you're a Reaper.
Mm, interesting. Yeah, no, good counter arguments. Yep.
Ray, what
Ray, you
about
wanna
you?
add
Yeah,
something to this?
I've been patiently listening for this. So I have a slightly different view on it, where instead of picking Reaper or Athena, there's Dark Brethren as well. And the way I envision this is that, as per the teasers, Flameheart takes over the Shores of Plenty, and his base of operations is now Golden Sands, hence why the Reaper's hideout is the closest to Shores of Plenty. Athena gets the Ancient Isles because Thieves Haven, Ramsey, etc. And then Dark Brethren gets the Wilds because, that's the sort of the one bit that's left over. And each month, there's a leaderboard, and this is an individual one, not based on crew. And you can change each month, but once you've picked a side, you're locked into that faction for that month, and you get exclusive rewards for it. It will work out so you can get all the rewards if you swap factions, but at the end of this whole year or however it runs for, the faction that's got the most gold, got the most rep, etc., will sort of decide how the story's going to go. That way, the players have a hand in how the story progresses and how it sort of affects the canon. But my main sort of, how you say, idea for progressing this is that if me and Blubber, and say I'm allied with Flameheart and he's allied with Ramsey, we still get the same bonuses. But if you're in a crew of 4 Flamehearts or 4 Ramseys, you get an extra sort of bonus on top of that towards the progression for the faction, not for yourself. That way it sort of encourages people to coordinate, say, oh, Blubber will go Flameheart this month and next month we'll do Ramsey, etc. Or people can just do the same faction if they just want to progress that sort of story. That's how I would do it, personally, similar to the Emissary Ledgers. And then you get bonuses for beating people with other factions, doing missions in their area. It's almost sort of like a risk, like sort of territory takeover thing. Each month, obviously, the territory doesn't change because you need to have those separate faction areas. And I think at the end of it, at the end of the year, you have to pick a faction that you're going to stick with, be it like your idea, Logan, that you can reject Athena and be a Reaper. So you can be Flameheart, Dark Brethren, or Ramsey, and you get a time-limited curse for doing that. So you either get the Skeleton Lord if you're with the Dark Brethren, Ghost Curse if you're with Athena, and Ashen Lord Curse if you're with Flameheart. And those will stay exclusive until, Rare will release them again in the future as a way to sort of show your allegiance during that period of war. I think it'll be a really good way to spice up the dynamic PvP in the game and reward PvE players a little bit more, so you don't always get rewarded for PvP. If you do voyages for a certain faction or in a certain area, you will still get that bonus for your company. It's a bit messy on paper. I do have a video coming out about it that's a bit more clear-cut and scripted, with some obvious things worked out. But that's the way I'd like to see it appear in the game. I do think they're going to do some sort of faction war, whether it's that intense or heavy. I doubt it, but some sort of allegiance system, sort of Reaper Legend, that sort of thing. Dark Brethren Allegiance. I think that's going to come to the game in the coming year, or if not 2023.
I'm really curious to see how this video comes out, because to me, I'm already getting like glossy eyed over the idea of having to worry about ledgers and now factions on top of just general fun with the game. I wonder if there's maybe too many reputation systems with something like a faction war, which is why I like the idea of it being more of like as important as a title, as opposed to this is a ledger that you now have to work on.
It would be more focused on the ledger for the company, not your personal rewards. So it's not something you work towards actively like you might do an Emissary Ledger. It's a passive addition like the Season Pass. That's how I would angle it.
Okay.
To be a passive, progressive system that you're not really going to miss out on until you get to that last sort of stage where you have to pick your final allegiance to sort of level up and get your curse. But that's after the whole sort of story's resolved. It'll be more clear cut in the video, but that's just rattling it off now in sort of unscripted format. But yeah, I understand those concerns completely, because I would hate that as well, because sometimes I miss Emissary rewards. I don't get them all done in the first month of the season, and I know not a lot of other players do drop off. But if you do have that aspect of, oh, if I hop on this month, I get to do my I at least get to play towards my faction whatever leaderboard, you might be more inclined to play more, especially if other players are doing it and you get into more PvP sort of crazy moments. I don't know how it would affect the game, because obviously it doesn't exist. But it'd be interesting to see how that would affect the player engagement.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being more of a passive system. It's so hard to know like what the engagement level would be, because with it being something that's passive, how impactful can it be unless you see things change in the world as a result of it? And at the same time, I think about like the idea of locking in your faction at the end of it. I play a lot of Destiny. There's 3 different classes that you can play as, and there's unique armor sets each time they do like a season with a different event and stuff like that. And inevitably, every single time they introduce a new cosmetic set, one faction always seems to get the coolest stuff or looks the best. And I see that being a problem with the way the way they would have to balance these curses, because inevitably there's going to be one curse that seems to be just a little bit cooler than all the others, but that may not be the one that is yours, and that's going to make other people feel
Mm,
like, why did I get shortchanged on the curse?
aye,
You
indeed.
could balance that off with a large amount of gold to switch factions. It's tough because I like the idea of having a choice to make, like you brought up, with the different factions before launch, where, oh, am I going to be a gold hoarder? Do I be a reaper? Merchant Alliance seems pretty good. I feel like sometimes to the detriment of the game that the fact that everyone can have anything almost makes things not special. Like when they bring back time limited cosmetics, I know that rubs Blubber the wrong way. It rubs me the wrong way as well. Um, I don't know. It's a philosophy I kind of don't really fuss too much about, but I know some people want to have everything and they want all the coolest stuff. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Logan?
I don't mind the idea of swapping factions. I think you would want to be informed well ahead of time of what the curses would be
Mm.
to help try and inform that decision, so you could have it like. One of the nice things that Destiny did is last October, not not 2021 October, but 2020 October, they released 3 concept sets for the different Guardians, and the Guardians got to choose which cosmetic set were going to be the rewards for a year from then for 2021's October Halloween event.
Mm.
And it was done by community. It was a choice that they made, and then those were the rewards that were made. So I like the idea of giving players the ability to see what's coming and having the opportunity to make that agency, that having that agency and making that choice for themselves well ahead of time, and being able to have that choice, that option to change it. I like that as well too. With time limited cosmetics, they don't bother me. I have what I have because I played through the content. If I don't have it, I don't have it, so I don't miss it. Like I don't have the Midnight Blunderbuss because I didn't need a hard drive at the time. But it's not something I miss because I don't have that thing. I've let that go. I've said, it's not something I'm ever going to get. I'm not going to spend the money to get it. And if I don't get it, then I just accept it. It's not good. It's not going to be a big deal in my life to where I'm upset if other people have it and I don't. Like I have the Obsidian capstan. I'm happy that I have it, but I didn't need it. And if other people need it, then they can have it. I'd give it to them because I don't ever use it.
Fair enough. I think
Mm,
people have mixed opinions on the time limited cosmetics. I'm one that enjoy them. I quite like having time limited cosmetics. But I know other people have brought up in my Discord as well that it's really annoying starting up a game and you can't get this because it was released in 2018, and you can't get this cool cosmetic because you weren't there during curse sales. I understand the frustration, but I also understand why Rare put them in to say, look at my pirate. This is his history.
Yep.
aye. So if they are doing faction wars, it's going to be a tough balance with
Yes.
cosmetics. Yeah. Yeah, so hopefully this answers the questions from Firebird and SGM Jammed. Those are our thoughts on a potential faction war and how it could work. As you can tell, a lot of uncertainties, and it's a big discussion, which certainly will evolve over the coming months, and certainly will evolve when we get more knowledge about the coming year. Interesting times, even though don't think it's going to happen. All right, so the next question comes from Ewalsh. He says, I'd love to see more wildlife added. The rats were an okay start to this, but they don't really interact or do anything. Life in the oceans, like stingrays, seals, etc., and more animals on islands would really help to make the game feel more alive. What other ways do you think they should make to make the game world feel more lived in? And this, I love this question. Like, I think we get at every other podcast, like question about wildlife, and I just keep loving answering this. So I've been thinking about this because yeah, you can just put more parrots in there. You can put swines in there, boars and dolphins, but they need to have a purpose as well. So in one of the first trailers, there were parrots on the ground, and when you it wasn't Cannon Cove, and when you came up to them, they flew away. And that's not in the game, but it does make the game feel more alive. But what you could do, and this is just an idea, like if you had seagulls, like a flock of seagulls on the beach, like they're tippy topping their feet, and that could be a spot to get like an exclusive type of bait for your fishing rod. So if you dig there where those seagulls were, tippy tapping, you get like a new worm, like a sandworm or something like that, and you could use that to get more exclusive fish types. Or if you see a boar, like the place he is, sniffing around, you remember that because it will scatter away if you come close, and then you can dig there for truffles, and truffles you can sell to the Merchant Alliance. So those are ways you add wildlife, but they also have a purpose for the game. So those are an obvious hippos. Come on, let's not forget hippos. But those are just some ideas I had. So how would you like to see more wildlife implemented?
So when we were going back and we were doing our wishes, I came up with a bunch of stuff. So I had like UI overhaul, message in a bottle, workup, open up voyage capacity, rough waters on islands. And then my last one, which I snuck off to Ray because I stole his, was more land life that's non-interactable, like hermit crabs on the beach, lizards in the grass, birds on wood structures. I'm thinking like Zelda Breath of the Wild or Animal Crossing, where there's just random animals on the island that bring a little like stuff that catches in the corner of your eye as you're running by, and you're like, oh, what was that? What was that? Is that a okay? No, it's nothing. And just stuff to kind of distract you in the islands. I think this is a great request. We have plenty of goofy schools of splash tails in the water all the time. I would love to see jellyfish for a while. I'd love to see stingrays like they have in the art book. I'd love to have more wildlife just in general to bring a little more diversity in your scenery. And I think they're working on that actually. I think they're planning on doing stuff like that based on the conversations I've heard.
I
Interesting.
I love both the ideas, to be honest with you guys. I think Sea of Thieves is many things, but appearing to be a lived-in world is not one of those things. I do apologize for that harsh criticism, but yeah, it does. It's a really good question, and my sort of idea surrounding this is similar to Logan's, I guess, but sort of passive pirates at the outpost that just do their own thing. You know how all the NPCs are at a tavern, or not even at a tavern. There's no one in there apart from the barkeep and the mysterious stranger. But imagine if there was just, you go to Daggertooth and there's a guy fishing on the beach that's always there, and you can just speak to him and he just sort of comments on what's going on. Or, that sort of thing would be really nice, and having the NPCs move around each update doing different things. It would be also cool for some plays on Outposts where people pretend to be NPCs. I think that'd really boost the engagement as well, and the confusion. I don't know how you guys feel about that, because I know some people will be like, oh, I can't believe that's not an actual person, it looks just like one. But we have them on islands, so why not have them on Outposts as well?
Feels like you've been listening to Killhop podcast.
Mhm.
Because I think Logan asked that to Chapman, right? And he said they are looking at ways to make all the islands more lived in, but he didn't give us any details. Is that correct, Logan?
Yeah, and I mean, I think you bring up a really solid point. If you look at like the tavern in Sea of the Damned for Pirate's Life, if you look at the Pirate Legend Tavern, there are random NPCs interacting with each other, and they are doing their own thing, and it's a really fun, it's a really beautiful, like you can't tell me that you didn't love walking into the shipwreck tavern on the Pirate's Life on the first tall tale when you get to the cursed captain and he's telling you to go find that key. That tavern is amazing and the music is perfect and it feels like it's vibrant, and it's like, that's great. Like, I think that's what we want. I think that's what everyone wants. We want this world to feel like it is alive, that there's things going on in it and they aren't tied to it. Like Blind Bob is not just a man that tells jokes. He is the fun. He's the one that saw the Kraken first. Like he was the one that first saw the black waters and stuff, and that never came to fruition in the game, in the live client. But based on the stuff they teased out when they were talking about the game, like no one knows who Blind Bob is except for a couple people who followed him through his tale with Umbra and stuff. But he has a story. He is a person that is a character that you can relate to. But he is just one of very few that are out and about in the world that have no purpose other than just to bring interest to the game. And I want more of that.
I agree
Nice.
100%, especially with Bob because he's such an awesome character. But more of Bob really, more, or not just Bob, but more of those sorts of NPCs in general would be a great boon to the game, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
So we have beautiful ideas for more animals, but also to make the NPCs feel more alive. So that's great. So hopefully that answers your question, Ewas. Thanks for that. Always nice to answer that. And let's go to the
just a quick one to add to Ewalsh's question. More weather patterns would be nice. So rain without the storm, bright sunlight, hail, that sort of thing. Just dynamic weather rather than just calm or storm would be a nice way to make the game feel a bit more lively.
Gusts of wind. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Gusts of wind blowing the palm trees to let you know there's a storm coming.
Yeah, stuff like that would be amazing. Again, it's like a season 5 update where it's the small things that just adds to the general enjoyment of the game. Something like that. Like, think how Shrouded Spoils was so well regarded because of fog that barely rolls in. That was just such a neat addition to the game, and it was relatively minuscule, really.
I'm still enjoying it now.
That fog saved me the other day. I'm not gonna lie. I was heading to GSO with a whole bunch of treasure, just solo on a sloop, and I just off the side of my eye, I looked to the right and I saw a brig sailing from Wanderer's Refuge, and they ducked behind the rocks that are just north of Laguna Whispers. I anchored, I dropped anchor, turned hard, and then sailed into the fog just to drop any kind of like hint that I was around because I did not want to have to deal with a fight with all the treasure that I had. So I love that fog. I think that needs to be stuff like that in the game. Please give me more stuff like that because it does change the story when it happens. It does impact the world.
Yep, totally agree. Anything else you want added to that?
No, I think I was glad to bring that up because we got a nice story out of it. See? Case in point, Rare. Case in point.
All right. So let's go to the final question. Comes from Speaker. Now that we can explore the science structures, do you think it is possible we will have areas for the friendly mermaids? Since Belle, who has a cursed earrings that allow her to speak to merfolk, seems to be coming, I find it likely we could get a tall tale about alliancing with the merfolk to fight back the siren threat. Thoughts? So, first thing I want to mention about this question is to clarify something, because Speaker says that Belle has the cursed earrings, and I think he's confusing the Bells, because he's probably talking about Belle, Legend of the Deep, and she doesn't have the earrings. It's the different Belle from the Tales of the Sea of Thieves journals. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's Marissa Bell or Diving Bell that has the earrings from Nine Cats Nura, and then Belle, Legend of the Deep, is the character that we've seen and in the teases so far.
All right, so great. But to answer his question, do we think we will explore mermaid structures? Do we think that?
I think this is going to be an interesting one because bringing the Sunken Kingdom had some issues with it. There were definitely some things that were causing issues with the game. And if we did bring more things like that to the game, it may not come in the same fashion. If we did get to meet with merfolk to speak with them, I would like to see where that falls in with the story, because right now the Sea Queen is dead for all we know. We don't know if that's permanent or not, but the likelihood of merfolk coming to us with all the sirens loose now seems interesting. And I wonder if maybe the faction war that we've been talking about isn't between Reapers and Athena, but maybe sirens and merfolk.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be another layer, like all the tall tales and all the voyages and all the little hints about lore on the islands and the ancients. Like it's all you can see them as separate stories, but they're also connected. which I really like about this game. That you have separate threats, but there are always connections to those. And I think the same is going to happen with the Merfolk and the Sirens. It's already happening, actually.
I think this is a good point. Despite the sort of initial confusion of who Belle is, and I think, Logan, I think you share this sentiment with me. I think Belle, Legend of the Deep, is the warrior, the female warrior who defeated the Sirens the first time. So if she is going to come to the game, obviously she's in the teaser, and if that is her, then we're going to get some sort of link between the Legend of the Deep, sort of, I guess, Flameheart, the Sirens, and maybe Ramsey as well. I don't know. Seems like we're getting all this background information, and the Siren stuff sort of came out of left field off the back of a pirate's life. But I think it's all coming together to sort of explain the lore in depth, especially if they bring in the ancient stuff as well. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, I feel the same. Kind of at the moment, I feel the same like you. Like Belle, Legend of the Deep. She looks kind of ghoulish. I feel there's something up with that. I also feel that she might be like the first pirate legend, even before the pirate lord, because she has the glowy eyes in the promotional material. And yeah, I do think she could have been the warrior. Also because she put an end to the siren curse, which kind of hints at the name, like she's called Belle of the Deep. So I think that connects for sure.
Yeah, I would just echo the same thing. Legend of the Deep is a title. The way you become a Legend of the Deep is not anything to do, I think, with the Sea of the Damned. I think it deals specifically with what happened deep down below the water surface, and to be a legend, to held in high regard during a time when sirens are in hibernation, speaks purely to what is reflected about her status to the merfolk. So I think Belle, Legend of the Deep, is a revenant using a body that may or may not reflect what she actually looked like when she was alive, but that title, that reputation, still withstands. And to the actual merfolk, she is a legend because of what she did to help out with taking out the sirens for the time and stopping them. I believe that she is the warrior that we've been talking about for a while.
So now,
Interesting. Like we're all three into the lore. I think it's safe to say that's true, and we all think the same way about this. So that's interesting. I like that.
so now that poses the question, as per the teaser, if that is, well, it's likely that's Flameheart Jr. speaking. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't. It still could be because he didn't outright say, I'm Flameheart Jr. He just talks about his father. In that sense, then, and based on the teasers, why is the Legend of the Deep opposing Captain Flameheart Sr.?
I think
Does
a
he
lot
say?
of it. Sorry if you don't mind.
Go for it, Logan.
Okay. I think part of it deals with the sanctity, the balance in Sea of Thieves. Ramsey has always been someone who has tried to get pirates to play well with each other, and that's not Flameheart's bag. Flameheart's bag is to be the king of the ocean, to be the king of Sea of Thieves. He doesn't approve of the pirates of these days. He doesn't approve of Alliance. He doesn't approve of merfolk. And if you are someone who put life online and potentially died for it, as the Legend of the Deep for the merfolk, and their sanctity is threatened by Captain Flameheart, if she comes back, it's like waking up Master Chief for another Halo, man. Dethaw him and bring him in to come kick some Covenant butt, because that's what I think the Legend is here to do. I think she's here to restore order where there is chaos.
I feel the same.
Could that also mean that Flameheart has some sort of link with the Sirens then? I put the question to you, Logan.
I don't think that Flameheart has direct ties to the Sirens. I think the Sirens are a result of what happened between the ancients and the merfolk and the Sirens, and the powers that the powers that they were playing around with then. I think Flameheart is a direct result of what can happen when people playing with magic get too greedy. and you start to come into these characters like the Gold Hoarder with Wrathbone, and you get Flameheart with Domination and stuff. I think he's a product of the world that he was brought into, not so much what he is, not who he's working with or who he's working without. I think he is a man of an island, and he is his own ruler, and he has no he has servants, but he does not work with anyone. He is his own thing.
So I put it to you then again. In I'm a big advocate that Flameheart is the warrior and conversely the Sea King. Would then that make sense to you if Flameheart has always been this villain, that his original plan was to use the sirens to take over the Sea of Thieves, hence why he turned into the Sea King, at least in my theory. This is just another form of him trying to rule the Sea of Thieves again, where he was the Sea King before and now he's back in his human form and he's trying a different way.
I think it's a bit of a stretch for me to agree with that, because I don't believe that he was ever the Sea King. I believe the Sea King was just the warrior who was an ancient at the time, and I think Flameheart was just a pirate who happened to come across the Sea of Thieves, came back, had a family, and then eventually went there, and then eventually stayed, died, and his body was used as the thing that his soul was trapped into, because of his greed. I don't think that he was in Sea of Thieves during the time of the ancients.
Right, I see. That's fair enough. I'm just trying to think how this all links up, because we've just had the Sunken Kingdom. We seem to be getting Flameheart Jr. and Belle as well. In what capacity, we don't really know, but it seems like Rare are trying to tie this all together. Whether that is, or they just wanted to tell the Siren and Merfolk story just to give us some background information is, well, we'll find out eventually. But I just trying to link this all together in my head and just posing the theories to you to see what your idea was on this whole sort of story coming full circle, I guess.
Yeah, I think we're dealing with multiple story arcs at this point. We've got Flameheart, who was who mutinied against the captain, wanted dominance over the Sea of Thieves, had a family. His family, or his adopted son, came to Sea of Thieves, and that all happened within a little bubble. And then in a broader bubble, there was the ancients, well before the time of Flameheart and the captain, who dealt with the sirens and the merfolk and the war between those three, and then chained up the old mother and stuff. And it wasn't until all of that happened that Flameheart even came into the Sea of Thieves. So I don't think that he has ever considered anyone an ally, and I don't think that he's ever considered anyone outside of his wife and his son to be people that he loved. I think that his love has been for them only, and I think that his son is the only one that can actually get his attention. Because even Wanda wasn't able to get his love. I think his love still is for himself, his wife, and his son.
It's interesting how we
agree
have
with that.
it's interesting how we have these different opinions on Flameheart and how his motives tie in with the story, because he's throughout the story he's told to us as this horrible villain that carved his way across the Sea of Thieves, basically bringing it to his knees. And the first instance we get of him in the Sea of Thieves universe is that he adopted an orphan boy and loved him like a son. And that seems really out of character, but it's interesting you bring up the fact that maybe that's the only love he's ever had for his family. Whether he had a wife, we don't know, but he definitely had a son. For me, that just seems really out of character, and maybe there's a bit more to him that we'll eventually find out. But yeah, we've had this debate off podcast quite a lot, haven't we, Blubber?
Yep.
But it remains to be seen, really, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's always going to be like a catalyst. There's always the hero's fall, in any story. No villain believes themselves to be a villain until it's too late. They always think they're doing the thing that is the right way to do it. So for all we know, there could have been something that happened to his wife that caused him to turn, or there could have been something that the captain did to him that forced him to make this choice. So much of his story has yet to be told, and there's probably answers out there, and I can't wait to find out what they are. But there's always a reason why someone could go from good to bad.
I do find it interesting how we've had the Dark Brethren set up as the new villains when we've already got our main villain, and we know the Dark Brethren and the Flameheart and Flameheart aren't exactly on the same side. So there's got to be a bit of give here, and someone's going to be less evil than the other here, right?
Yes. And I'll leave it at that. I have thoughts, but I'll save them for later.
I was
that's what you
hoping
get
were
when
gonna
you.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to leave it like that. Awesome.
I mean, that's what you get when you get 3 people that are really into the lore in the same podcast. But to bring it back to topic, let's quickly answer the question from speaker. Do we think we get a tall tale that will explore the merfolk more? Do you think that's going to happen in 2022?
Yes.
No.
Ooh.
Not yet. Maybe 2023, not this year. I think this year is going to be Flameheart and the Reapers.
I agree.
I think just yes, because it's going to tie into that story somehow, even if it's just one. But we'll see what happens. I'm a bit more confident than that on you two, I guess. Than you two.
All right, very nice. I think that's also the end of the podcast. So I want to thank everybody that submitted their questions. It's always nice. I like it when our subscribers have some input in the content that they are watching themselves. So yeah, thanks again. And if you want to submit your own questions for this podcast, you should join the Salty Hippo Discord. The link will be in the description, and you click on that, and hey, you're part of the crew. But only join if you like hippos. Otherwise, just don't. And this also brings us to the end of the podcast. So I want to thank our honored guest, Captain Logun, for joining us today. And can you tell me and the listeners where people can find your content?
Yeah, definitely. I'm predominantly on Twitter, so you can always find me there at CAPT_LOGUN. If you want to get a hold of me, there's links in the bio for the Discord server that I have, for the community Discord that I run. Otherwise, just you can send me a message on Xbox if that's what you want to do. CAPTAINLOGUN, all together, no spaces or anything, just Captain Logun spelled out. And otherwise, that's pretty much it. Search for
Any
Keelhaul.
YouTube link?
I do have a YouTube. It's just youtube.com/c/Captain Logun or Cap Logan. I can't remember. But if you want to find me, the best way is going to be on Twitter, or just search for Keelhaul Podcast or Sea of Thieves Podcast, and you'll probably run into mine. And every episode has all of my social media stuff in there as well too. Probably the easiest way.
I'll make sure I'll put a link to your YouTube channel in the description so people can just click and listen to your beautiful voice while fishing in Sea of Thieves. And my beautiful co-host, where can the listeners find you?
You can find me on YouTube at A Shiny Ray. Just pop my name in the search bar. Make sure you don't search Ashtray by mistake. YouTube likes to do that. And you can find me at A Shiny Rayquaza on Twitter. Send me a DM on there. Give me a follow. I tend to reply to most of my DMs. So yeah, that's me.
All right, and you can find me on YouTube at Captain Blubber. Just type in Captain Blubber and you will find me. Also, this podcast is making progress for being on different platforms. We're still working on it, but we hope to be on Spotify and all the other channels in the future, so that would be really cool. So yeah, make sure you give this podcast a thumbs up. That's always appreciated. And let us know what you would like for the future of this amazing game in the comments. So yeah, that's it. Thanks again. Drink some grog, do something daring, and have an amazing day.
Stay safe, guys. Take care.
Bye. Love you.